Everyone was outside of the courthouse waiting for the 15 minutes to be up, and everyone was relaxing, hoping and hoping that the Louds get what's coming to them. And right now we see Harley, Ivy, Lincoln, Luna, and Lucy sitting on a bench, and Ivy was feeding Lily. Harley was pacing back and forth in anger. Did you hear what Blondie, that old woman, just said about Lincoln? Luna and Lucy? What hell of a mother you are, Harley said in anger. Clayface just put his hand on Harley's shoulder. Harley, don't let that lady get to you. She's not worth it, Clayface said. King Shark then spoke. He's right, Harley, and we all know how you feel. Like I'm doing it all, I cannot rip her to shreds and devour her here. And now the court will decide the fate, King Shark said. Of course, the detectives then walked up to them. Your weird-looking friends are right letting the court deal with this, Detective Danny said. Then his partner spoke. All we gotta do is get some words from you and the kids, and then we can put these monsters away for good, Detective Sandy said. Harley then calmed down. Yeah, you're right. Thanks for calming me down. It's just that woman gets on my nerves, and I want to shove that back down her throat, Harley said. Ivy then walked up to Harley. I know, Harles, but I know it's almost over, and we could see these monsters spend the rest of their lives in prison and separated, Ivy said. Luna then spoke. Dudes, I think we should probably go back inside now, Luna said. Then they all went out back inside the courthouse. The unnoticed to them that some police cars stopped right in front of the courthouse with the logo that says Gotham City Police Department, and a man about 55 with brown hair and mustache, wearing glasses, and walked out looking pissed off. Everyone then took a seat in the courtroom again. Then Judge McNeil slammed his gavel. All right, I think it's time we hear from the plaintiff what has to say about this, Judge McNeil said. Luna then took a stand. First things first, everyone, I also had played part in this no such luck bull crap when Lincoln was told us that he lied, and I actually believed him, Luna said. Detective Danny nodded. And it says that you were Lincoln's legal guardian to take care of him. Tell us how much you got that role, Detective Danny asked. Luna then looked at Detective Danny. I got that role after my ex-parents assigned me to that role after I saved Lincoln from falling off a tree when he was 4, and from that day on, I did my best to keep him safe, Luna said. Detective Danny then looked at Luna. And you said that he almost fell off a tree when he was 4 years old. Doing on a tree? Detective Danny asked. Luna then got mad. Because Lynn made Lincoln climbed up in the tree and then left him when he was in trouble for not caring if he falls or gotten hurt, Luna said sternly. Everyone looked at Lynn in anger, and then Lynn scoffed. Oh, please, Lincoln is so weak, he can't even climb a tree, Lynn said. Luna got angry, but she calmed down. As I was saying, I always had a great bond with Lincoln ever since he was born, and I saw that he was suffering in that squirrel suit. My legal guardian instincts were kicking in. So I made sure he was not in that suit when he was with me and my gigs visiting my girlfriend's home, Luna said. Detective Danny then asked, and did your family find out what you were doing to Lincoln? Detective Danny asked. Luna then sighed and looked down. Yeah, they found out one of my gigs and forbid me to go anywhere near Lincoln, and I didn't know what to do. I did the only thing I could think of, Luna said. And what that might be, Detective Danny asked. Running away, Luna said. And everyone was shocked to hear that, and Luna continued, I didn't want Lincoln to suffer anymore, and I didn't want Lily to stay with those monsters either, so I took her as well, and I didn't have enough time to get Lenny out of here. I knew what Lucy and Lana were going through, although I would have to look at them as well. I know running away was wrong, but I did what's right, Luna said. Everyone was looking at Luna and nodded their heads because she did the right thing, even though she had a part to play in the fiasco. She had learned from her mistakes that she and the Louds were looking at her shock and anger as they planned out all, and Lori was looking at Luna with the urge to kill. Detective Danny smiled. Thank you for telling us, Luna. You may return to your seat. No further questions, Detective Danny said. Luna then went back to her seat, and then Lucy walked up, standing still hugging that Rainbow Dash plush toy, and she was shaking a bit. Detective Sandy then walked up to Lucy. Okay, Lucy, do you think you could tell us the idea why you were involved in this situation? And don't worry, no one is against you. We just want to know, Detective Sandy asked calmly. Luna then looked at Detective Sandy. It's because I don't want to be more of an outcast of the family than I already am, Lucy said. Detective Sandy then looked up at Lucy. More than an outcast than you already are, do you care to elaborate that? Detective Sandy asked. Lucy then breathed heavily. Because my parents neglected me because of my skin condition and the color of my eyes, Lucy answered. Detective Sandy then asked, You, eye color, what's wrong with your eyes? Detective Sandy asked. Lucy sighed as she moved her bangs away from her eyes, and everyone was surprised to see her eyes. They were ruby red, and everyone was amazed by that. Harley then spoke. Oh my God, Lucy! Your eyes are beautiful! Harley said, amazed. Lincoln was in shock. Whoa, I didn't know Lucy had that kind of eye color, Lincoln said. Luna then looked at Lincoln. Yeah, neither did I, little bro, Luna said. Ivy then looked at the Louds in anger. So you made her block out her eyes just because they were red? Are you serious right now? Ivy asked in anger. Lynn Sr. laughed nervously. Well, no one has that kind of eye color, Lynn Sr. said nervously. Rita then nodded her head in agreement. Yeah, and those eyes make her look like a freak, Rita said. Harley then spoke. Those eyes don't make her look like a freak. They are beautiful, and you two are the freaks for hiding the shame for both of you. For shame, Harley said. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Everyone thought Lucy's eyes were amazing, and the Loud parents didn't like the stares they were getting. Lucy smiled at the compliment and continues. And because of my eyes, they don't care what I was doing. Lincoln was the only one who was looking out for me anyways. He's kind of like my legal guardian, Lucy said. Lincoln was touched by what she thought. Then Detective Sandy asked, So you have a great bond with Lincoln, again like he does with Luna? Detective Sandy asked. Lucy nodded. Yeah, we do. And he's always had my back ever since he took the blame for me in the Princess Pony book incident. Lucy admitted it. The lads were even shocked. Wait, so that pony book belongs to you? Lori said. We've mocked Lincoln for weeks, Lola said. So we've been mocking the wrong person, Lynn said. So Lincoln didn't clog the toilet, Lana asked. No, oh no, what have we done? Linny said sadly. Luna looked at the Lincoln in sadness. I'm sorry, little bro, Luna apologized. Lincoln hugged Luna. It's okay, Luna, I forgive you, Lincoln said. Lucy then looked in sadness. Lincoln always had my back, and I wanted to always have his back, as well as I even told my ex-friends about it, and they told me to summon a demon to help me, Lucy said. Everyone looked at Lucy in shock as Detective Sandy asked, But you didn't want to summon a demon, did you? Detective Sandy asked. Lucy shook her head. I didn't want to do it, but at first I was so desperate. I didn't have a choice, and it almost cost me my life. Thankfully, that Bats guy stopped me before it was too late. Lucy then hugged the plush toy really hard and started to cry. I'm so sorry, Lincoln. I'm so sorry, Lucy cried. Everyone was in tears, looking at Lucy with sadness, and then they looked at the Louds in disgust for what they did to her. Detective Sandy wipes her eyes away. Thank you, Lucy. That will be it. You can go now, Detective Sandy said. Lucy then went back to her seat, and Ivy hugged her to calm her down. Judge McNeil wipes his tears away. All right, that was a heartwarming thing to hear. Now let's see what the victim has to say, Judge McNeil said. Lincoln then got up, but was nervous and looked at Harley, who gave him an encouraging smile as he went to the stand. Detective Danny walked up to Lincoln. All right, Lincoln, now I know that has been going to be tough, but can you tell us your side of the story? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln sighed. Okay, I have been going to all my sister's events non-stop in the summer, Immer started, and I wanted some time to myself because I'm living in a house with 11 kids. It's kind of chaotic, Lincoln said. It is true. Everyone then looked up at Luna. From long lines to the bathroom to food budgets and from everyone hogging the TV remote, Luna said. Lincoln then continued. Anyway, Lynn then showed up and wanted me to come to her baseball game, even though I told her that I wanted some time alone. But she threatened me with the baseball bat and made me go to her game anyway. And when her team lost, she accused me of being bad luck, Lincoln said. Lynn then stood up. That's because you little jinx, Lynn said. Judge McNeil slammed the gravel. Stand down. Now, Lincoln, please continue, Judge McNeil said. Lincoln then looked at the judge. Thank you anyway. So when she accused me of being bad luck, I used my advantage to get some alone time and lied about it to get it out of my events. Lincoln said. Detective Danny nodded. Interesting. Can you tell us what happens next? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln sighed. Apparently it worked a bit too well, and I was forbidden to go to any fun and family events. And eventually I got kicked out of my house and had to sleep outside, and they stole all my stuff, and when I confessed I wasn't bad luck, they didn't believe me except for Luna, Lincoln said. Detective Danny then asked, Did you have anything to prove you weren't bad luck? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln then nodded. Yeah, Lynn's team got advanced to the finals, so I got stuck in disguise as myself as the school mascot, and when her team won, I showed them that I wasn't bad luck, and I thought that it was finally over, but they wanted to keep me wearing that stupid suit, Lincoln said in anger. Everyone could tell that this wasn't going to end well. Detective Danny then asked, And what did they do next, Lincoln? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln took a deep breath. They made me go to all their events, Lori's golf tournaments and dates with her boyfriends, Lenny's fashion shows, Luann's party comedy gigs, Lynn's sports events, Lucy's Young Morticians Club meetings, Lola's pageants, Lana's alligator wrestling contest, Lisa's science presentations, and my parents' jobs, Lincoln said. Detective Danny looked at Lincoln. And what about Luna's events? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln then smiled. Out of all the events, I went to most exciting ones with Luna because she always gets me out of that suit and lets me have a good meal and good sleep. She's the only one I trust, Lincoln said. Luna was touched by his words. Then Detective Danny asked, And how do you feel about your family for what they did? Detective Danny asked. Lincoln sighed. Angry, upset, and disappointed and sad because they do this to me and say the words about me. I hope they can rot in jail. And I am glad that Harley and Ivy found me, Luna, and Lily at the park from the past a few days ago. I knew them. They actually feel like parents to me, Lincoln said. Everyone was heartwarmed by that, and Harley and Ivy were touched by that Lincoln would think of them as parents, and they felt proud of them. Detective Danny smiled. Thank you, Lincoln. You may take your seat now, Detective Danny said. Lincoln then walked back to his seat, and then Harley volunteered to be the final witnesses to speak for her and Ivy, so she went up and took her seat. Detective Sandy then walked up to Harley. All right, Miss Harley, would you mind telling us how you stumbled upon Lincoln, Luna, and Lily? Detective Sandy asked. Before Harley could spoke, some police officers stormed in and surrounded Harley and Ivy. Everyone was confused, and Harley and Ivy somehow they knew. Commissioner Gordon, Harley and Ivy said in shock. Gordon's first. Finally, after all these years, I found you both, and you're coming with me, Gordon said. Harley looked at Gordon. How the hell did you know where we were? Harley asked. Gordon then looked at Harley. I got a call from someone about you two being here, Gordon said. I have my suspicions, but on who called you, Ivy said. Then she and Harley and Lincoln and Luna all looked at Howard and Harold, who had nervous looks, and Clyde and his dads in shock because they didn't know anything about this. Enough of this, Gordon said, then looked at everyone in the court. Ladies and gentlemen, these two women are wanted criminals in Gotham City for the crimes they committed, Gordon said. Everyone looked at Harley and Ivy in shock, and Clayface and King could tell that this was not going to end well. Harley then spoke. Me and Ivy are done being criminals, and we've retired and want us to live a peaceful life and start over, Harley said. Gordon looked at Harley in anger. You villains never retire, and you're both going back to Aka's asylum where you belong. Now take them away, Gordon ordered. The Gotham police put handcuffs on Harley and Ivy. No, please don't do this, Ivy said. Harley struggled. Please, Gordon, you don't know what you're doing, Harley begged. But before the cops took Harley and Ivy away, Lincoln got in front of Gordon. Wait, let them go, please. They didn't do anything wrong in our town, Lincoln said. Gordon wasn't amused. Out of the way, kid. These criminals are going back to Arkham for a very long time, Gordon said. Lincoln stood his ground. But hear me out. Would a criminal go through all this trouble going to court and just talking to the cops to save some kids who's going through mistreating and neglect? Lincoln said. Gordon was about to say something, but Harley spoke. It's true, Gordon. Me and Ivy were criminals, but sure, we want to change, but help these kids give a better life. And look at what they are doing. This still makes us bad guys. Harley said. Everyone then realized that they were right. Criminals don't do anything wrong, like saving child's life and go to trial, but they've changed. And Clyde then thought about what Harley said. Wow, they are not really criminals anymore. I need to talk to my dads and Lincoln apology, Clyde thought. Gordon was looking at everyone in disbelief and got angry. Oh, big deal. They're saving some kids' lives. They're still criminals and they're going back to prison. I had enough, Gordon yelled. Gordon then pushed Lincoln out of the way and made Lincoln fall to the table, and Luna went to check on him. Gordon went after Harley with his gun. Before he could do anything, someone grabbed his arm, and everyone sees Batman holding Gordon's arm. Batman looked at Gordon sternly. You are not doing anything, Gordon. That's enough, Batman said. Everyone was confused when they saw Batman. Wait a minute. What the heck did he come from? Ronnie Ann said, confused. Sid then looked all over the room. Yeah, I didn't even see him come in here, Sid said. Jordan then looked confused. My mind's officially blown right now, Jordan said. Gordon then looked at Batman in shock. Batman, what the hell are you doing? Gordon asked. Batman then spoke. I am doing the right thing, and I'm pretty sure the jury has what they need, Batman said. Judge McNeil looked at the jury. All right, then has the jury reached a verdict? Judge McNeil asked. The Hug stand up. Yes, we honor. We have defendants of the Louds incredibly guilty of all charges. Everyone was relieved and happy that they won, and the Louds lost, and Harley and Ivy sighed in relief as well. And the Louds were horrified by the verdict that they lost. No, someone please reconsider, Lynn Sr. begged. No, I can't survive in jail, Lola said. We technically won't be going to jail if we're minors. We'll be sent to, seeing juvie, Lisa said. I don't even know what's going on, Lana said, confused. At least we won't drop the soap, Luann laughed. This is literally not happening, Lori added. This is it all the Jinx's fault. I knew he was bad luck, Lynn said. Rita didn't say anything and was in shock, then saw Harley smirking at her, which caused Rita to growl at her. Judge McNeil slammed his gavel. Order in the court. I shall now read the punishments for losing defendants. Detective Sandy then gave Judge McNeil the punishments. These are the punishments signed by the agreement of the CPS and the President Detectives, Batman and Miss Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, Judge McNeil said. Lincoln, Luna, and Lucy looked at Harley and Ivy in shock. Don't worry, kids. I'm pretty sure you're going to like the results, Harley said. Judge McNeil then looked at Rita and Lynn Sr. Rita and Lynn Sr., you're sentenced to 30 years in prison. Separate prisons. Lynn Sr. will be attending to the Tuxedo State Prison, and Rita will be attending to All Women's Prison in San Francisco, Judge McNeil said. Lynn Sr. and Rita were shocked. No, this can't be happening. I demand a recount, Lynn Sr. said. George McNeil looked at Lori. Lori, since you want to act like an adult and treat it like one, you're sentenced to a year at Great Lakes City Juvie until you turned 18. Then you'll be sent to jail for 5 years in prison in Detroit, and then you will be now facing another 5 years of parole, Judge McNeil said. Lori just cried, No, my life is literally over, Lori cried. Judge McNeil looked at Lenny. Lenny, you are sentenced to a year in hospital at Bay City to see what's wrong with your head, Judge McNeil said. Lenny nodded her head. I can handle a year in the hospital. I really need help, Lynn said. Judge McNeil looked at Luann. Luann, this is recommended by Harley Quinn to send to 10 years in Arkham Asylum, Gotham City to get your pranking habits under control, Judge McNeil said. Luann laughed. Well, I can't wait to see Arkham over for there, gay? Luann laughed manically. Then everyone got creeped out. Judge McNeil looked at Lola. Lola, you are sentenced to a foster home in Arkansas. Then you'll get adopted and attend to all girls academy to teach you some manners. And you are banned from competing in pageants forever, Judge McNeil said. Lola then got angry. No, you can't do this to me, Lola yelled. Judge McNeil then looked at Lana. Lana, we are planning on sending you to a foster home in Hazeltucky for about 2 days ago. Someone called the detectives and wanted to adopt you, and we're sending you to her with some medics to help your problem, Judge McNeil said. Lana was even more confused. Adopt me? What are you talking about? What's going on? Lana asked, freaked out. Judge McNeil then looked at Lisa. Lisa, for doing all kinds of dangerous experiments, you are sent to one of the hardest women's juvenile halls. You'll probably get to you to talk about that chip. Judge McNeil said. Lisa looked confidently. Well, good luck with that. You will never get me to talk, Lisa said. Judge McNeil then looked at Lynn Jr. Lynn Jr., for starting all this, you are sentenced to juvie at Bay City till you're 18, and you're sentenced to 15 years at prison at Great Lake City, and when you are released, you'll be facing a 5-year parole, and you're banned from competing in any sports events forever, Judge McNeil said. Lynn was horrified when she looked at Lincoln in anger. This is all your fault, Stinkin'. I'll kill you, you little jinx, Lynn yelled as she went after Lincoln, but was knocked out by a former best friend, Margot. Margot looked at Lynn. Stay down, Junior. It's over, Margot said. Judge McNeil then looked at Lucy. Lucy, you're off the hook, but you have to attend to a church school that has opened up to get your dark ways under control, Judge McNeil said. Lucy sighed. I'll take that sentence, Lucy said. Judge McNeil then reads the final paper. And as for this act for helping these kind kids, Harley and Poison Ivy, hereby renouncing the criminal ways and are paid to Deputy Society, and they have full custody of adopt Lincoln, Luna, Lucy, and Lily as their kids, Judge McNeil said as he finished and slammed his gavel. Everyone was surprised to hear that Howard fainted, and Jordan was mind blown and Luna's band was in a shock. Ronnie Ann's words got turned upside down. Pop-Pop feels like he was going to have a heart attack. Clayface and Shark King can tell that this was going to be interesting. The Louds were in shock that they lost custody of Lincoln, Luna, Lucy, and Lily to 2 former villains. Lincoln, Luna, and Lucy were surprised as well, as the 2 women really helped them with the court case and wants to adopt them. Lincoln then looked at Harley and Ivy. You both want to adopt us? Lincoln asked. Harley and Ivy nodded. Gordon was not happy after seeing this. No, they can't adopt them. They're criminals, and they should be in jail. Arrest them, Gordon ordered, but the cops didn't anything except took his handcuffs off. If Harley and Ivy and Gordon sees this, what are you going to do? Arrest them now? I am your commissioner, Gordon ordered. Batman then looked at Gordon in anger. Not anymore, because you're not. Because I'm going to take you to the mayor about you retiring from this job. You have lost it, Jim, Batman said in disappointment. Gordon then looked at shocked, and then the 2 cops grabbed him and escorted him out of the building. Hey, what are you doing? Let me go. These women are criminals. I tell you, they're criminals, Gordon yelled as he left the building. Harley and Ivy shook their heads and then walked up to the kids who were confused. Why do you dude want to adopt us? Luna asked. Harley then smiled. Because we felt a connection between you 4 good kids, Harley said. Ivy then spoke. And you need some real parents, not like the ones you grew up with. Me and Harles want to be parents, Ivy said. Harley then looked at the kids. So are you kids okay with us being your parents? Harley asked. Lincoln, Luna, and Lucy were still in shock, and they smiled, hugged as the new moms, and Harley and Ivy hugged them back. The Louds looked at them in shock, and then they could see the cops, medics, and guys in suits right in front of them. Lynn Sr. was first. No, please, don't do this. Let's talk about this like gentlemen. But please, don't do this, Lynn Sr. begged, but as the cops took him away. Laurie then looked at Luna in anger. This is all your fault, Luna. When I get out of here, you will pay for this, Laurie said in anger as she left the building, and Luna was still looking at Laurie in anger as well. The medics took Luna away in the straitjacket and was laughing manically, and everyone could see that Luann has lost her mind. When the guys grabbed Lola, no, put me down. This town will pay for this. I will own all of you and rule this town, Lola said. Then they took Lisa away. Ha, you can all try, but if you want me to talk, but you'll never break me to talk about removing that chip. Ever, Lisa stated. Then the SWAT team grabbed Lynn, who tried to fight back, but then looked at Lincoln. This isn't over, Stinkton. I will be back, and when I do, you're dead, Lynn threatened. Then they took her away. Then the cops took Rita away with no fight, and she looked at Harley in anger. You haven't seen the last of me, you skinned white woman, Rita said as she left. But before they could take Lainey and Lana away, Lincoln walked up to them. Lainey, I hope you can get help in your head and get better. Lana, I hope they can help you with your problem, Lincoln said. Lenny then smiled and hugged Lincoln. I'm going to miss you so much, Lincoln. Lenny then looked at Harley and Ivy. Take good care of them. You're all they got left, Lenny said. Harley smiled. Of course we will. Don't worry, kid, Harley said. Lana was confused. I don't know what's going on or what is happening, Lana asked. Lincoln kneeled down and hugged Lana. Don't worry, Lana. You will be as soon as possible. That's a promise, Lincoln said. Lana was still confused, but she hugged Lincoln back, and then Lenny hugged them as well, and then the medics took Lana and Lenny away. Harley and Ivy then looked at Batman. Thanks for helping us, Bats. It feels so good to do something nice, Ivy said. Batman nodded. Don't mention it. And when that baby blonde lady is carrying and is born soon, we'll send it to a good family, Batman said. Harley and Ivy, Luna, and Lucy looked at Batman in shock. Wait a minute. Dude, she's pregnant again? And what's going to happen to it? Luna asked worriedly. Batman looked at Luna. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, I must find a way to get that chip out of that little girl's head, Batman said as he left the courthouse. Clyde was now happy that Lincoln found a new family, then looked at his dads. Howard is still passed out. Come on, dads. We're going home now, Clyde said. Harold then looked at Clyde. But Clyde, we just can't leave them with these criminals, Harold said. Clyde sighed. We could talk about this when we get home. Now let's go, Clyde said as he helped his dad carry his other dad into the car. Harley then looked at her family. Come on, everyone. Let's go home, Harley said as they left the courthouse, ready for their new lives.